everybody. Happy Tuesday. Holy smokes, is there a lot to talk about? Of course, we're going to get to the big Nuggets news, but first, breaking news coming out of Broncos, which we haven't heard a whole lot about, you guys. Brandon McManus, the final member of the Super Bowl 50 team. We got Zach By and D-Mac in studio with us hanging today. Zach, let's start with you. Brandon McManus, he's out.
Yeah, I think McManus kind of signified, you just mentioned it, like the bones of Super Bowl 50, still here. There's still some remnant that you can look back. Now, every single tie from one of the greatest moments in Broncos history has been severed. One thing I will say is be careful what you wish for. Brandon McManus is not a perfect kicker. There is no perfect kicker. He's been pretty damn good. So a kicker is like one of these things in life that I think that we take for granted. Maybe someone that's sort of just kind of always there for you, maybe your mom or your best friend or your significant other. You take that away, then you realize all the value that they did bring to the table that you may have not been like top of mind in all of the moments and all of the days. That's what McManus is for me. Better have a good backup plan because he was a pretty good Bronco.
Stunning news because of the timing. Because if they just wanted to make space and make this move, it's very common vet cuts happen around free agency time, maybe even the draft. This move, because of the timing, is really interesting. I was told he's been a good soldier in terms of going to things in the offseason, so it's not like, they're not like angry at him. I think it's because they got something else about to pop. I think they needed a couple of $1 million to make some sort of move. To me, that's the only thing that logically makes sense because the numbers haven't changed. To think that, we're just getting around to it as a special teams coach, that's ridiculous. Everybody's been in their job since January. There's been plenty of time to hear out everybody about everything. So I think there's something else about to happen that they need the money for. And I would be inclined to look at running back because I'm not really buying that Javonte Williams is 100%.
And we know they're going to save roughly $2.5 million.
2.5, you can do a lot with 2.5. You can certainly get a backup running back for 2.5 or
no doubt,
whatever, a little bit more depending on that. He was an expensive kicker and he had a sort of a mediocre year, but like Zach said, okay, but you best be right about whatever else you're going to go to.
Yep.
And as hard of a time as I give special teams, the one position I would never skimp on is the kicker. And okay, I mean, we'll take your word for it. You guys are the experts. Let's see.
I hope we're not in November and the Broncos have a game where they lose by 1 and they miss 2 field goals. And we're looking back saying, what were the Broncos thinking trying to get an additional running back behind Samad J.P. Ryan because we didn't think Javonte Williams was going to be healthy and he turned out to be, missing 3 games or something like that. So, but I do like that theory, D-Mac, that there's something else at play. This isn't like a standalone move. There's another domino that could be falling here.
We won't be seeing him in a ref uniform.
Oh, I mean, there's other things. There's other things with McManus too. I mean, McManus was kind of a pain in the butt on certain levels of things. But I was reassured today that wasn't the reason. So okay. I mean, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I was shocked when
absolutely shocked.
Well, and we saw the Adam Schefter tweet, but McManus has actually tweeted about it before Adam did. He beat him by 1 minute.
Okay.
And it doesn't come as a surprise to me because I feel like McManus always wanted to be in charge of anything that, any of the talk that was about him. He wanted to have a say in it as well.
Well, there you go. Bye-bye. Well, that's it. Super Bowl 50. Last dude off the team. He was the last to go. Moving on.
Wow, he had an opportunity to be the Broncos' all-time leading scorer, believe it or not. Had he been in the fold like through the duration of his career, and I asked him about that at training camp. He sat down with us and said that was one of his goals. In fact, he already had prorated what he needed to do over the coming years to become the Broncos' all-time leading scorer. So that's obviously not going to happen now.
Yeah, I like Brandon. I got along great with him, I thought, over the years. And again, I don't know what else to say, but I'm really, really surprised. And if they don't bring somebody else in, then I don't know. I think we'll see how he was truly regarded, but depending on what they do. If they bring somebody else in, that's just the way it goes. If they don't bring somebody else in, it's just a message they wanted them gone.
Yeah.
They were just sick of them for whatever reason, or they really did think they could just literally do better at that position.
And we'll see. I just want to shoehorn in one more thought about that. Sean Payton is the definition of like no nonsense, anonymous donors.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to hear and I'm just going to say this, and this is not a knock against Brandon McManus. Brandon's just being himself. But for a kicker, very large personality.
Oh yeah,
very large personality. He's the Broncos rep. He's
Yep.
dressing up as an official for practices. He's weighing in on Twitter, going back and forth with producers at the Fan. At one point in time, he challenged me to a game of one-on-one basketball.
Okay.
So it's like
why didn't this ever happen though?
I asked him. I kept on asking him, and then he started to back off. He said, "Well, you were a college player. Like you'd have to spot me points." I'm like, "You're a professional athlete." So, but I really like Brandon McManus. But I will say for a kicker, just traditionally with the structure of an NFL team, he had a very loud voice here in Denver.
For the record, too, I would take Zach in that game as well.
We would.
I've seen our guy in action.
Team the Fan for sure. Okay, let's talk about the Nuggets though, because obviously last night was literally history in the making. It was so much fun, but it didn't look like it was going to be the glorious night we were all expecting it to be. LeBron did LeBron things for sure at the beginning, but the Nuggets walked away. And I've been telling DMAC this the entire playoff season, really. There's trust. They figured it out. There's trust in this team. Even when they're down, we may panic for a little bit, but you have faith that they're going to bounce back. Even if they would have lost last night, I've been telling people it didn't matter. They were going to win game 5 because they built that trust with us. And I know for a lot of Nuggets fans, James Merrilat is going to join us here in a little bit. He doesn't have that trust because he's had so many heartbreaks. How are you feeling on that?
Oh, no, I completely agree, Rachel. I actually, with Schlereth and Evans this morning, I said that they're almost earning avalanche levels of trust from a year ago, that it really didn't matter what came the Avs' way. They instilled such a level of confidence that we're like, we're fine. In a very, very morbid way, I probably shouldn't share this. When the Lakers were up 15 at halftime, I was saying, perfect. Nuggets lose. I'm going to hammer these guys in game 5. I'm going to hammer the Denver Nuggets. And in terms of betting on them. But yeah, they just, once they had that third quarter, it was a complete pivot from the first half. Yeah, did the Nuggets get a bad whistle in the first half? They sure did. But they allowed 36 points at the rim at halftime. That's not who this team has been. They came out with such better focus and determination, allowing just 16 points in a quarter. Guys, in quarter number 1, the Lakers scored 34. Quarter number 2, they scored almost 40. They scored 39 points in 12 minutes, followed by 16 minutes in the third quarter. What a U-turn that the Nuggets pulled right in the middle of that game.
I mean, it was an outstanding third quarter. And at 15 is tough, man. That is a tough number. It's not impossible, but it is tough. And so at the end of the game, they outscored the Lakers by 2. They outscored them by 17 points in the second half. Well, that's tough to do too. Right. So you have to outscore your opponent by 17 to win by 2. Sometimes you can just simply break things down and say whether a team can really come back or not. 16 points allowed is phenomenal. And it's clear what happened with LeBron. Very similar to Jamal Murray. Outstanding first half, and then you just lost some steam. You know what's crazy about basketball, and I think numbers do matter. Things most of the time revert or go down to the norm. So if you're a poor three-pointing, if you overall are, say, 38% three-point shooting team, and you're shooting 16% like the Nuggets were, well, that's going to go up, inevitably. Or if you're really, really hot, that's likely going to come down. It is crazy how basically impossible it is to overcome the norm. You can overcome the norm every once in a while. But I thought Ham, the head coach of the Lakers, was crazy to play LeBron for the entire game. I thought that was absolutely nuts. They don't normally do it. It got him out of his rhythm.
But it's do or die.
Yeah, well, okay, but it's diminishing returns too. And at the end of the day, how about LeBron just sort of passing up a chance to win it with a three-pointer to try to drive, which wasn't a bad thought. But then again, that's LeBron choosing to go for the tie rather than go for the win. I guess he could have gotten an and one, and maybe that was the safer, more conservative approach. But you want to talk about clutch, and I'm glad the referees finally put their whistles away on the final play. There's a little contact, but not enough to decide the game or decide it that way. Hey, LeBron's the one that decided to take it to the hoop. Jamal with his hand on the ball. AG with that little deflection. And then jubilation with the Jokic brothers tossing around Michael Malone like a pillow pet. I mean, it was an awesome, awesome night. Awesome night.
Let's actually talk on that final play. The fact that there was no foul at all and we didn't get a whistle. In those big moments, you hope that the refs always stay out of it. But I for sure thought we were going to hear a whistle, and there was no foul. It was just absolute clean defense. And Zach, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we don't always see that when it comes to NBA basketball.
Oh, yeah. No, look, I mean, the Lakers had the biggest free throw disparity in the NBA by a wide margin. They shot 400 more free throws than their opponent. No other team in the league had a margin of plus 200. So, yeah, it's a real factor. And your eyes are telling you that to be the case, too. But I'll tell you what, you ask Lakers fans in this series, they thought they'd been jobbed for all 4 games. I mean, I did not think the referees did a good job just in general. I thought it was a very poorly officiated series just across the board. And then there was a couple instances, with the backdrop being, hey, the league wants the Lakers to extend the series in that first half where there was some ugly missed calls. But, man, I watched Anthony Davis get raked across the arm and didn't get a foul call. So it kind of went both ways. But that last play, though, you're right. Like, if there was ever a time to force an agenda, it would be to send LeBron to the free throw line with a chance to tie the basketball game. And I know, some coaches will tell you, hey, if you're on the road, you take the 3 and try to end it. But if you're at home, go into overtime and put even more pressure on the road team. So I wasn't stunned, but I'll tell you what, man. I'm happy that Aaron Gordon, who has really been struggling offensively in this series, not only got to get his flowers and score 22 points on 9 of 14 shooting and made 3 threes. The last time he made 3 threes in any game, you got to go back to game 1 in the Suns series, which feels like a month ago. So the fact that he got to play like that, in addition to highlighting the strength of his game, and that, like when the Nuggets got Aaron Gordon, it was now we got a guy who can guard Kawhi, who can guard Luka, who can guard LeBron. And the fact that not the series, but the game came down to that final play with him guarding LeBron, it didn't really matter if it was great that Jamal came in and tied up the ball, and that made it like a non-starter. LeBron wasn't scoring on AG regardless in that moment. So I'm really happy for Aaron Gordon, who if you view Aaron Gordon's performance through the lens of like a prop bet, you'd probably be very frustrated at Aaron Gordon. But his value, the court's cut in half, D-Mac, half of its defense, and he's the best defender that they have.
Last night was his game, and I said it yesterday on Coffee Break. I'm like, all I want is for AG to make a 3 because they are so often leaving him open and just telling him, go ahead, shoot it. And when he did last night, I was like, yes, Aaron Gordon. I love to see it. And he showed up, but he has had the toughest road to this point, you guys, of just these entire playoffs too, of who he's had to guard and how well he's done it. That you're right on, like a prop bet, you look offensively, you're like, he's been terrible. Defensively, what a star.
Well, I was just gonna say, to your point, not even to disagree, just to supplement what you said. First round, he's guarding Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. Second round, he's guarding Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And third round, he's guarding LeBron James and at points Anthony Davis.
I was so happy for him. I was just so thrilled. He's such a down-to-earth dude.
He's so quiet-spoken.
He is, but listen carefully because he's got interesting things to say.
For sure.
Just because he's quiet about it doesn't mean he's not interesting. That's for sure. And I was just so thrilled for him. And this is yet again another example of somebody else stepping up to the depth and talent of this team. Like LeBron James said after the game, talking to Anthony Davis, they thought this Nuggets team was the best team they've played in the past 4 years. A tremendous compliment, and it's filled with incredible players and depth. What'd they do? Did everybody get double figures? All the starters were in double figures. The bench has been narrowed just to 2 guys. So we lost one out of the Crayola box crew. We've lost Christian Brown, but whatever.
Why? Why do we lose Christian Brown?
Well, I just think he has an incredibly short leash with Michael Malone. There's like Michael Malone is like Mr. Trust. It's you got to build that, and it's almost impossible to build that trust within your first year. He's a rookie, so you saw like in the last game, first mistake, 3 minutes in, Christian Brown's out, and that's just sort of Michael Malone's just personal like edict. That's just who he is. So I'm not shocked, but it's pro sports. It's a results-based business. They just swept the Lakers. He's pushing all the right buttons here.
There's another more logistical reason too. There's just more downtime. There's just more time off to recover,
which is why we've seen Jokic. Usually he sits at the beginning of the fourth, and that's why we've seen him now at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't want to lose out on your best players, and there's a lot of rest relatively to the regular season, so you just don't need it. But you do need those guys to get to the playoffs. You need every one of those guys on the bench at one point or another. So I think, listen, these guys should not be forgotten about or discredited just because they're not playing right now. I could give you a reason why every single guy on this roster, except for Thomas Bryant, is critically important to the Denver Nuggets. He's the only just kind of wild miss. And that did happen when Zeke Naji and even Aaron Gordon were kind of injured. So I kind of even get that. But that being said, who cares? They're probably going to rotate the same 7 guys. They have 6 quality starters. And then Jeff Green, who's, because I'm including Bruce Brown as just a starter. He got 20 minutes yesterday, so that was the 6th most. But you could see a game where Bruce Brown gets more minutes than KCP. I mean, that's already happened. That could easily happen again.
It was just in game 3. He was a part of the closing group.
As was Jeff Green instead of Aaron Gordon.
And as was Jeff Green. And that's where, Michael Malone. Look, if Michael Malone was doing some of the stuff that Darvin Ham was doing, we would be crushing Michael Malone. And it's almost like, for whatever reason, like when the Nuggets do well, he gets less credit than some of these other coaches. This is one of the longest tenured coaches in the NBA, along with Pop, Spoelstra, Kerr, and Malone. That's the list.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's just a little bit different with him. And
there's one reason though why. Does he have any titles?
No.
And there it is.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, like on your way, like we're watching like this journey, and Michael Malone has been the perfect coach for this team, and he's about this close from becoming a Colorado sports legend.
Everything coalesced. The game of Michael Malone's career, by far, was Game 5 against the Suns, man. You had lost 2 in a row, and you had a lot of people, including maybe some people inside the building, wondering what you were doing with your rotations and who you're playing. And it all came together in Game 5 at home, and then just absolute demolition in Game 6 to a laugher. And now you have swept the Lakers with the same message. We're here to win a championship. Jamal Murray to Lisa Salters, who I do believe knows who Jokic is now, was like 5 more to go after Game 3. You see the reaction in the locker room. They were happy. They were fine. But it was, I called it demure. It was just sort of, okay, we're cool. I'm sure the plane ride home was fun. And Michael Malone joked about going to Cabo for a couple of days. I think they're going to get 2, maybe even 3 days completely off. So I love that. They can get a break, and don't forget they handled the break well. Look at how they responded in Game 1 after the Wolves while waiting for the play-in series. So that team, I wouldn't say they were burned out near the end of the season. I think they were just like, okay, let's just get this over. They finished 12-11 after the All-Star game. And, we'll all remember kind of that weird game against Houston when they could have just cinched the West, that they sort of backed into the number 1 seed. But all that was obliterated when you saw how they came out in Game 1. It was just like, no, the talent is real. This team is real, and we're going to prove it to you. And they did. I am pumped for them to have a few days off and then get back together, have a couple of hard scrimmages like they did before the Wolves. And I think they're just going to come out on fire, whether Denver's a basketball town or not. There'll be, 20,000 people going absolute bananas. And I looked at the tickets for them.
So did I.
Holy cow. I mean,
buckle up, everybody.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
So they're available. I'm not saying you can't get them.
Dude, if you want to sit in the lower bowl, you got to bring $1,300, and that's for the last seat in the lower bowl. If you want to sit in like the 15th row in one of the 2 center sections, you're seeing those tickets for $4,000 and $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen. To get in the door in the Stanley Cup final cost you $1,000 on the secondary market. it's going to go well over that for the Nuggets. That's just the nature of basketball.
And it's going to depend on how many games is the NBA Finals going to be? Because if there is a game 5 or a game 7, those prices are going to jack straight up. I know you got to do your show, but real quick, I just saw this comment, and it was like, how did he get a tech, Aaron Gordon, on the LeBron situation?
Yeah, well, I think it was a double tech.
It was.
So, yeah, I think that's kind of the easy way out. But I'll say this about that moment. That was you remember in the bubble when the Clippers were trying to run roughshod on the Nuggets, and it was Markieff Morris, and he was just sort of, punking guys. And Millsap, I remember Paul Millsap was the one to step all the way up in his face, and he was like, yo, you're not punking us. That was a moment last night from Aaron Gordon. Like, I know you're the greatest player of all time. And he's just like, no, I'm not. He had LeBron's arm. So to the guy's question, like, he had LeBron's arm too. There was some culpability. He's like, I'm not letting you go. You're not punking me. And I thought that was a small little microcosm of the maturity and the toughness. Toughness is one of the last words I would use to describe the Denver Nuggets from anywhere between like 2017 to like, maybe 2020 or 2021. But this team is freaking tough.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking about real toughness, not barking fake bravado. I'm talking about real toughness. This team has it, and that was a baby microcosm of it.
Yeah, AG deserved the technical. He wouldn't let go of LeBron's arm, but who cares? LeBron put his forearm up to AG's neck, and just like Zach said, there has to be a moment where Michael Malone has said it like this: they didn't feel us in that half. Well, they got to feel you. And so there's no better way to feel you than to not let go. And I think the Nuggets absorbed that. The Nuggets have had little, dips, and that's why a great coach like Malone can get them back into focus. And it does work. And they can reset quickly. They don't need another game. They don't need another couple of days. The Nuggets can actually reset in a very short period of time. And what's stunning is we've gone this long without just not heaping praise on Nikola Jokic. But let's not, before Zach goes, what are we watching here?
We're watching the greatest player in the world. And just because you won MVP doesn't mean you're the greatest player in the world. We saw Westbrook win an MVP. He wasn't the greatest player in the world. LeBron held that designation. We saw Barkley win a MVP. Jordan was still. So I actually did not think Jokic was the best player in the world 2 seasons ago. I thought that designation belonged to Giannis Antetokounmpo, but he has now crossed over this last year and a half. It's undefined, but right here and right now, this is what I know. Right here and right now, the best basketball player in the world plays for the Denver Nuggets, and he is the largest ingredient in this meal that is the best tasting in the history of this franchise that's been around since 1976. And I'm telling you, and we're going to guess the odds later today on Stokely and Zach, when these odds come out, when this Celtics Heat series comes to a conclusion, and by the way, we should all be rooting for Celtics to come back and push this series.
Let's have a game 7.
Yeah, no, seriously. I hope they play all 7 games, whether that happens or not, whatever. But when these odds come out, you will see the Denver Nuggets as an overwhelming favorite over the Miami Heat, if that's who it is.
All right. Zach, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
We will definitely be having you back. But of course, we got to talk about the length of the NBA Finals break, because it doesn't happen very often. And up on the screen, you can see, we'll get rid of this banner real quick. The Lakers in 1982 had 11 days. They ended up winning the NBA Finals. The Nets in 2003 had 10 days in between. They lost the NBA Finals, and you can see the schedule up here. We've got until next Thursday that we will essentially see the first day of the NBA Finals. And that is honestly just wild to even think about. Think about how many games we've gone to, D-Mac, in the last month, and now we have 9 days to wait.
Yeah, I mean, the Avalanche had a long break. Sometimes this does happen. I would be stunned if Miami loses to Boston. Talk about a team that just quit. So I assume both teams will be off.
You say that, though, and we were both picking the Lakers last night, because it's sweeps don't happen very often, especially this far into the playoffs.
You know what's funny? I woke up in the morning yesterday saying, okay, I'll be fine. I predicted 5 games for the Nuggets anyway, and then we did coffee break, and I kind of stuck to that.
Yeah.
But as I did the radio show and the day went on, I started getting more ticked off because I was just sort of upset about everybody else selling the Nuggets short.
Yeah.
So when I talked just more about the Nuggets, I was just like, well, wait a second. the only reason the Lakers were going to win in terms of my analysis was the any given Sunday. It's hard to beat a team 4 games in a row. Like the real nebulous, weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Every basketball reason, I had the Nuggets winning because of, a million different reasons. And we talked about like what they would have to do together, LeBron and AD. And you know what? We said 60 points, and they did get 61 together. Then we said Austin Reeves would have to go for his 23, 24. Well, he had 17. And that was basically and we also said D'Angelo Russell will have to have at least 17 points. Well, D'Angelo Russell didn't even start.
Yeah.
And and Schroeder, it was really on Schroeder then to make up the difference. And he did all right. He had 3 3-pointers and he scored 13 points. So Schroeder, not Russell, was a little short.
Mm-hmm.
Reeves was just a little short.
Yep.
But in all honesty, Davis and LeBron combined, they did exactly what they needed to do. It was 40-21, so it was a little unbalanced. But actually, between those two guys, they did do it. It was a slight lack of production by people just under those two.
Which again comes back to the depth of this Denver Nuggets team and why they've been able to be so dominant. We were, like you said, we really haven't even talked about the Joker and how fantastic he was. But of course, we've got the numbers. 45 minutes last night and 43 for Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about two guys, too, that absolutely just said, Coach, no matter what, we got this.
Well, they're both in great shape. Okay, let's just start there. And for everybody who sort of says, Jokic, I've heard this is kind of ridiculous. Like he's, smoking a cigarette, getting a sandwich, playing at the game at the Y. I mean, nothing could be further from the truth. So after the game was over, Nikola Jokic was lifting weights. Okay, Nikola Jokic was doing conditioning after that game, and he was heard listening to Steve Miller, the Joker, with his wife and daughter nearby. So
is it because they don't have? I mean, let's be honest. We all know that professional athletes, they don't take a prohibited substance, but sometimes they get an extra something to help them out and to really pump them up. Is that what they're doing?
I don't know what you're talking about there, Rachel. I'm not sure.
How many times have we've heard stories? And I'm not saying that they do. I'm just wondering if that's why they still have like so much adrenaline and that's why they go lift.
It's very common that pro athletes after a game will flush their system out through a process of not all do it. Like Jamal Murray doesn't bother with that at all.
Jamal hits the ice packs right away.
But it's very, very common. Charlie Blackmon, for example, does it. Jokic does it almost after every game. That's why Jokic is so late before he meets the media. It's not some sort of crazy sort of thing. It's probably about a 15 to 20 minute sort of, just flushing stuff out of your body sort of thing. So, but I'm telling you, that's how diligent Jokic is to being in physical shape, that this is just part of his routine that he even stuck to after that. So the dedication to fitness and what it means to play on a regular basis in Colorado does nothing but help these guys as long as they buy into it, and they have clearly bought into it. I mean, they have just been phenomenal. And Jokic had another gargantuan game when it mattered the most to earn the Irvin Magic Johnson MVP award, which he couldn't wait to get rid of. You could see him like, what do I do?
He doesn't like awards.
I thought another hysterical moment was Jokic was unable to put on the T-shirt. Like it kind of got caught up in his,
I must have missed that.
Yeah, he was trying to put it on. He was handed one. He was trying to figure it out. It was just like, whatever. So he didn't even bother putting it on. Also, Michael Malone.
Oh my gosh.
And I love him. But that hat is not made for a dude with a dome like Michael Malone. We love the coach. And of course he looked great no matter what. But it was a fun look. Let me just keep it nice. It was a fun look for Coach Malone with the hat, which I think was a snapback flat brim.
Yeah.
Like a snapback flat brim. That's a tough look, period, to be honest with you.
And then the hat too, or the T-shirt with like the long gray sleeve underneath. I was like, Malone, this outfit is just absolutely killing it.
But nobody cares because everybody looks great in victory. That's for sure. Ugh. And what about the irony of Mark Jackson, who I don't know how that guy has a TV job. And Lisa Salters won an Emmy earlier in the day.
I know.
For Best Personality Reporter.
I almost had to mute the broadcast. I couldn't
there were some tough moments.
At the beginning, it was just constant. The Lakers, the Lakers, the Lakers, the Lakers. I'm like, we all realize they are down 0-3 in this series right now, correct? Like, at least, D-Mac, we all talk about things that we don't want to talk about, but that's our job to talk about those things. Like, it's your job to report on both teams. And the fact that a national media network is having such a hard time with it, it really just pisses me off. Like, the personal bias coming out is getting ridiculous. Yes, we all can have our own personal opinions when it comes to it, but we have to give both sides of it. And I was getting so fed up last night and this morning. I even heard Stephen A on First Take, and he was like, well, we have to talk about what the audience wants. And that's true to a certain degree, but at the exact same time, if you never talk about the opposite, the fans are never going to learn to love the other side of it.
Well, I think it can cut both ways. If you do a show like Stephen A and the main driver are bigger cities and like Los Angeles, like First Take, I actually do get that. When you're actually broadcasting the game, though,
my gosh,
you don't need to have a slant or a bias. You don't have to root for anybody in particular.
No.
You have the freedom, which is nice, to literally just call the game. There really is no excuse for Lisa Salters having no comprehension of how good Jokic is until this moment. And even Mark Jackson said on the broadcast last night, hey, this Jokic is really good. I was like, well, all right, welcome to the party. Guy who didn't even put Jokic on his ballot for MVP. That being said, there's a massive turn, Rachel. A massive turn. Keyshawn Johnson today said that it was a bit, that his whole thing was like a bit, that, he wasn't really serious about it. He was, hey, look at my shtick here. I mean, give me a break. Nobody's buying that. I have no idea what Kendrick Perkins is really going to say except to praise Jokic and the Nuggets. And I'll tell you this, I'll give full respect to Miami, and I anticipate Miami winning. Mm-hmm. The Nuggets are a terrible matchup. Terrible, terrible, terrible matchup for the Heat because of the Nuggets' size. And the Nuggets, yes, the Nuggets do deal with really good guards. Yep. They dealt with Devin Booker. They dealt with Anthony Edwards. They've dealt with, I don't know what position you'd call LeBron. I mean, they don't really have great guards there in Los Angeles, but they've dealt with these guys. So it is no big deal if Jimmy Butler, like Anthony Edwards, goes for 35 points a game. You are going to need a good complementary player, and you're going to need great support from your bench. Yeah. That's how the Nuggets win. And maybe not bench, but role players. The bench isn't quite as important, but you need to get production about every guy that you put down there on the court, and that's what the Nuggets get game in and game out.
Did Jamal Murray get snubbed?
For what?
Out of the Magic Johnson Trophy?
No. Jokic put on, no. I'm sure he was second if there was balloting for that, but no. Jokic was historic. Jokic passed Wilt Chamberlain for playoff triple-doubles.
Here's my only thing to that. We expect Jokic to do those types of things. If Jamal didn't have some of the games where he absolutely went off, would the Nuggets have won those games?
No, they need Jamal. They need their two superstars to play like superstars, which they've gotten. But Jamal's probably been the third best player in the playoffs total. Okay. It's probably Jokic, Butler, and then Jamal. I mean, that's awesome. That is rare air. No, he did not get snubbed. But I don't think he would care about that either. No, Jamal was incredible. Jamal is unbelievably critically important. You can't. Here's what's great about winning the championship theoretically this year. You literally can't do it without all of these guys.
And Michael Mullen preaches that constantly.
Yes, and that's the way it should be.
I 100%
It shouldn't
agree.
be about we just got two dudes and everybody else is a passenger on the bus.
Yep.
That's not what it should be about. They're the best team because the best team should win, not a bunch of just, all-star game, like one-on-one sort of things. It should still be about the team winning the basketball game. There's going to be better players on the team, but you should need everybody on the team. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Lakers played Tristan Thompson when he was like a color commentator, this year was comical.
That they interviewed him at half. Oh my gosh, I thought it was hilarious because LeBron walked. Obviously, he went back to the locker room like 4 seconds left to go.
It's a good story, but it's a story of desperation.
But she asked him every single question about LeBron.
Well,
like, what are we doing here?
I mean, maybe that was appropriate. He went for 31 points in the first half, and then he walked off. That's a weird move too. I don't quite get that move. The whole how much time are you really saving yourself by walking by yourself to the locker room? And then LeBron, man, I mean, I'm not going to say it was completely calculated because I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but he created another storyline by hedging his bets that he may retire at the end of the year.
He's not going to.
Here's what I think he might be interested in, and here's where his conflict's going to come.
Okay.
The one thing I think you can say about LeBron is I think LeBron appears to be an unbelievable father. He appears to be a great dad. Not a good dad, but a great dad.
Yeah.
And I have not seen any evidence to the contrary.
Same.
When your son goes off to college and starts playing sports in college, it is very natural, especially to have the means to want to watch your son play.
I believe it.
I think LeBron is really, first of all, the Lakers aren't getting past the Nuggets next year, and they barely made the playoffs this year. So LeBron's got to ask himself a really tricky question. Is it worth me missing my son's only year in college? Because the whole plan for Bronny is to be one and done and be drafted. So should I miss my son's entire college career just so I can maybe make the playoffs to get beaten in the playoffs again? Or check it. Should I take a year off, heal, follow Bronny around, and come back with whatever team drafts Bronny?
Okay, so you're saying he's not done playing basketball. He's just going to take a, what do they call it when you like skip a year?
Leave of absence.
Yeah.
I don't know what he contractually has to do.
I could see that happening. To your point, I can see that happening. But no, this is not the last time we're seeing LeBron James play basketball.
But I mean, he could say to the Lakers, listen, you have my rights. I'll let you trade me, whatever. I don't know where it all works out financially. I'm just saying that there's no guarantee the Lakers would draft Bronny, okay? Because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Bronny is really, really good and gets drafted by somebody else. The only way LeBron could ensure that he plays a year with Bronny, his son, the only way is for him actually to retire and then come out of retirement with whatever team drafts Bronny. But that would literally be only to play with Bronny, not win a championship. Okay. So what's it all about? Why are you doing what you're doing? I think he's serious about thinking about it, and I think he should think about it. He's not going to get past the Nuggets. I think he knows that now. The Lakers have some major retooling to do. They're not really that close. The fact that they got past Golden State the way they did probably should tell you something about Golden State and the rest of the West, which is a great sign for the Nuggets, because the Nuggets by far are the best team in the best position, not just to win this year, but to really keep this sucker going for the next 4 or 5 years. It's literally the most awesome thing, awesome moment in Denver Nuggets basketball history. What happened last night, what it means, what LeBron said, how they won, and what we expect to be an NBA championship coming up here when they get back to business.
Oh,
yeah.
What an exciting time to be here in Denver.
Yep.
Did you see James Marilat's family tweet?
Yeah, that was awesome.
All right, we're going to play it for everybody that's missed it, because this is just showing you, which he talked a little bit about, the heartbreak that Nuggets fans have gone through and the excitement that is to come. Take a listen.
The Nuggets are paying extreme attention to Austin Reeves as the inbounder. Reeves holding. James comes out of the back. James on the drive. Goes inside. Stop. Shot block. Gets it back. Yeah!
The sweeping motion is so good.
First of all, that Marilat brute's all in pretty good shape. I got to give, that is one fit family right there. We'll start there.
This is going to be so weird. And I don't know if you do this too, but I'm like, oh, so this is what the basement of James' house looks like.
We can break it down a little narrow.
Right.
But finished. Looks nice.
Different than I thought. We've all seen James's background when he's here on Coffee Break. I'm like, where does this fit in?
No idea where his wife is in this whole scenario.
It's him and the boys, though, and you love to see it.
And in the same posture with their hands on the knees
to
watch the final play, except for his youngest son, who gets boxed out by the three bigger guys.
Just runs and hugs dad. It's such a sweet video.
Yeah, his older son is actually but he is yoked up. Holy cow. Jimmy's got that kid playing football. And that is a tremendous reaction for all the crap that James gets about different things. To think that he's not a lifelong Nuggets fan is insane. He is definitely a huge Nuggets fan. I didn't grow up this way, Rachel. What can I tell you? I guess I'm, not a native, even though I've been here for 24 years, and I've certainly seen a lot of interesting ups and downs of Nuggets basketball. But that being said, I don't live or die with the Nuggets. I love them.
Yeah.
I want them to win, all of that. But I'm not like that, but it's great to see that. It's great to see people who have been tortured for years and years and years have a moment like that. We were spoiled with the Avalanche because when they came here to town, they won right away.
Yeah.
It was insane. They come to town, they win the Stanley Cup, and then they win just 5 years later. So a lot of people grew up already knowing what it felt like for the Avalanche to actually win a championship. Now it was 20 years in between, but still, you really don't have people saying, my team's never won. For most people, the Avalanche have won while you're here. The Broncos won in 2015. Even the Rockies got to the World Series in 2007.
Yeah.
It was only the Nuggets who had never made it to the championship round.
Yep.
So for lifelong Nuggets fans, and let me tell you, this absolutely is a basketball city. Basketball's been incredibly popular here for years. Tons of people play. The games have been sold out straight for years and years right now. To think that this isn't a basketball city is just foolish, and that reaction is just awesome. That reaction right there shows what it means to people that have been fans for such a long time. And the fact that James could share that with his family was an awesome idea to record it. I loved it. I love seeing reaction videos like that. So keep it going.
I just want to say, I think he got the idea from our reaction videos.
Well, we've had some good ones.
We've had some great ones. There is no better, though, than...
We have to watch ourselves, though. We're not allowed to go up in the press box. We're not allowed to go like crazy like that.
But
we've had some good ones.
Mine was when we were down in the tunnel at the Broncos game. Was it the Thursday night game against No, they won the 49ers. What Thursday night game was it that they lost?
Well, they lost against the Colts this year.
Yes. That was the one.
Yeah.
And we were down in the tunnel and it went into OT.
Yes, it did go into OT.
And we were sitting there and I was just like, oh my gosh. And that reaction video is priceless. It's on my Twitter if you ever want to see it. But this feels similar to last year.
Well, this is a much happier reaction video than that. I know exactly what you're talking about. So film yourself with your reactions.
Please
it's
do.
awesome.
I would honestly love to see it. I love watching those types of videos. Tag DMAC and I, we would love to see it. But this feels so similar.
Let me tell you, organically, McGregor Square was packed.
Yeah.
Organically. That wasn't like an official sort of thing. People just sort of went there.
Yeah.
They had official watch parties planned at McGregor Square for later on. And we did have thousands of people at Ball Arena as well. So I think with this long break, with the hype that's going to become because of the long break, I think by the time we hit game 1 on June 1st, I think the city will be exploding, very similar to how things were last year for the Avalanche.
I'm so ready. And when we look at the similarities too and how the runs have gone for both the Avs, so the only difference is the Nuggets had a gentleman's sweep in round 1 and the Avs had just had a sweep, but otherwise they've been identical.
Pretty close. Pretty darn close. And really, when you look back on it, the Nuggets just got a little sloppy in game 4 against the Timberwolves, and they, demolished them in game 5, and Anthony Edwards is throwing chairs at ushers and, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
The hardest opponent may turn out to be the Phoenix Suns. And you could arguably say the hardest opponent for the Avs may have been the St. Louis Blues and everything that was going on there.
Yep.
But plenty of respect for the Lightning and plenty of respect for the Heat. At this point, I'll just pick Nuggets in 7 to be more conservative. Because Jake Shapiro, our guy, got it right with Nuggets in 4.
He did.
I got mocked for saying Nuggets in 5. To say anything, in my opinion, to say anything less than Nuggets in 7 is disrespecting the opponent. Now, can I see paths where the Nuggets win in less than 7? Well, yeah, a lot of them. But I can also see a path where, they get caught by surprise in game 1, just like the Heat caught Boston by surprise. So there's a lot of different scenarios here. They're not done, but Rachel, it's the best Nuggets team ever. And boy, are they in a ideal position to win a championship.
And we're just so lucky the fact that we're going back-to-back here. Man, if you're the Cronkies right now, you are just high on life because
I think the Mammoth are in the finals again for whatever they're doing.
We're also lucky that we get to, and even if you're not in the city of Denver, to honestly see a town that something like this has happened, it's really exciting. Like, you have to kind of just jump into it. I don't ever get mad at people who are bandwagon fans who have paid attention. Like, I know in the comments too, we have a lot of people that they don't live in Denver, they're kind of all over the country. Drop where you are in the country so I can name a few, but they still come and they pay attention every single day, and they're like, hey, I'm technically not even a Nuggets fan or whatever, but now they're able to kind of hop on. If you don't hop on before the playoffs, then you're a bandwagon fan. If you've been paying attention all season long, welcome to the freaking club, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And that's what's great about just loving your city.
Ugh.
I would absolutely say, if nobody's ever paid attention and they're just hearing, oh, this is kind of exciting, I would welcome them with open arms to get on board. There's a lot of great stories about the Nuggets if you're not aware of them.
Yep.
And they've earned it the right way too.
Yep.
They have just like the Avs. They've slowly built. They've had a philosophy. They've stuck to it with a core group of players. Now, they had to replace a lot of guys. And even Jamal Murray gave a nod to Monte Morris and Gary Harris.
That?
Yeah, I thought that was cool because you need different guys along the way.
Yep.
And some of those guys don't come to the finish line with you, which is definitely a bummer. But it doesn't mean it's not important. You saw Timofey Mozgov in the hallway giving Jokic a big hug.
I
so
love
there's that relationship. There's a lot of people that made this happen. And yes, to stand in Josh Kroenke, wow. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you just take away, the TV stuff, in terms of just the team and what they've done and how they've built teams, I mean, that is a blueprint. The Rams are kind of interesting because the Rams are the NFL's a little bit different because it's kind of an all-in sort of deal, but they pay that price and they'll probably continue to pay that. It's different in hockey and basketball. You have more time to build, but what's great is if you can build it, it's so much more sustainable for a long period of time. Whereas in the NFL, it's just like, hey man, if we can win a Super Bowl, I mean, we may stink for the next 10 years, but look what we got to do. So the Broncos are a great example of that happening as they won in 2015. And, here we are with the Broncos cutting Brandon McManus. But, let me point out one other little thing about yesterday. So on the day that the Nuggets got their biggest win ever in LA, maybe ending LeBron's career on a night he had a great night, earlier in the day, Carmelo Anthony retired. Do you know who produced his retirement video?
Omaha Productions.
LeBron James.
What?
LeBron James produced it because he was asked about it. He knew. So that release on that day might have been a way to try to throw the Nuggets off. LeBron James produced it, and they released it yesterday before Game 4. How about that one? Okay, fun, right?
Okay.
Here's another one. I'm getting a ex-NFL coach calling me right now. I got to put that down.
Oh,
Sorry.
do you need to take that call?
You see that right there?
That's why I'm kind of like, maybe you should skedaddle and go make that call.
No. I'll talk to him later. The other thing that happened yesterday.
T-Max got birdies.
That's
Good
one
birdies.
right there. The other one was that Bones Highland tweeted out in a series of a couple of responses, I wanted to be traded. So on the day that was marked by unselfishness and a commitment to the culture, you had Carmelo Anthony, who I love and defended, but I know Carmelo Anthony will be looked down upon by a lot of Nuggets fans for being selfish and wanting getting out of here. Also, Bones Highland, maybe you did want to be traded. I mean, I guess I would believe you because they wanted to get rid of you too. So it's not like I broke up with you, you broke up with me, whatever. But it does go to show you, Rachel, in winning a championship, Bones was a puzzle piece that you needed to get rid of. He came from a jigsaw box some other place and just got thrown in. He needed to go for the betterment of the team. And even though the players they got, Reggie Jackson and Thomas Bryant, haven't really done all that much on the court, at least they're not taking away from anything either. And I like Bones, but it just wasn't working. So you had Carmelo, who retired with a video produced by LeBron that was released earlier in the day of Game 4, And then you had Bones saying, I didn't want to be part of this team on the same day the Nuggets pull off their greatest win. That, my friends, is karma.
Sounds like some salty former players who wish they could be in this position.
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be in a position to win a championship, even if your role is to come off the bench and just support the guys that are out there.
Yeah.
And that's what the Nuggets have. They have a whole team of guys like that. There's not one selfish bone on any player's body. And even Michael Malone was advocating for Adelman, his main assistant, to get a head coaching job after the game. You have a selfless team that is building towards, I think, a championship.
I know.
I think we're going to see fire trucks and maybe Jokic and Bruce Brown on a horse.
I know. Real quick, like I said, we've got people from all over the country that tune in. We've got New York, Illinois, New Jersey. I saw Bama in there, but people are also trying to take guesses at who's calling you right now.
Oh,
I absolutely love to see it. Ditka McDaniels is calling you.
No.
Vince Lombardi. I saw another one in here too. So take your guesses because DMAC does have little birdies. But we need to talk about the NFL because there are some changes that are definitely going to be coming, including the Thursday night football flex. And we learned that Greg Penner did vote in favor of this. I'm curious about your thoughts on. They have to give 28 days notice.
Yeah, it's a long time. Yeah,
it is a long time, but
and it's
still
only weeks 13 through 18.
To flex them in, and I feel like Thursday night football, in my opinion, is always like the evil stepchild of.
Let me tell you, if you get flexed in that game, you're a good team. So you shouldn't be insulted by it. You're on a roll. It's like something good is happening.
See, and I look at it as like, oh, if they really wanted to flex you, they would do Sunday or Monday night.
Well, they already can flex on Sunday night, so they already can do Sunday night. Can they flex Monday night? I'm not sure about that. I don't think so.
Okay.
They definitely can flex Sunday night. And now they're trying to listen. We're getting closer. Here's what we're getting closer for, y'all. We're getting closer to 2 bye weeks, an 18th game, the Super Bowl being pushed back to Memorial Day weekend so we can all have Monday off. And
Memorial Day weekend? President's Day weekend.
I'm sorry.
I was like, holy smokes, we're having a couple months.
Sorry. Memorial Day weekend. Yes. Sorry. Or President's Day weekend. President's Day weekend. Yes, you're right. So what you're seeing is a longer season, more time off, 18 games, President's Day weekend, and eventually you're going to see a division of the NFL in Europe, based purely in Europe.
Yep.
So like 2 teams in England, like a team in Spain, a team in Germany. Well, you can hate it all you want.
I hate it.
But that's where it's going. So they're trying to build the NFL to this crazy world brand. And you likely will see not just flex games on Thursday. You likely will see games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and maybe some sort of Tuesday or Wednesday night game. They're just going to try to have an NFL game, basically, Rachel, every day of the week.
Yeah.
And if they have a second bye week, they actually could do Wednesday night football. They really could.
I think that becomes, don't get me wrong, football is the reason that I'm in this industry and I've grown to love a lot of sports, but football is the reason. Sometimes when you have too much, it can just ruin it.
Well,
we all look forward to Thursday because it's like, all right, it's the start of the season or the start of the week. Like we're ready. And then we've got Friday, technically off day. And then you've got Saturday full of college football, Sunday. You try and add too many games. I feel like it can be just like, okay, well.
Never going to happen. You've had the USFL, the XFL. You'll have more
How many USFL games have you watched?
It doesn't matter what I've watched or what you've watched. How many people watch that compared to Stanley Cup hockey? It's about like even the Omaha Productions Pro Bowl that was produced, which was just 2 hours of television, would do better ratings wise to sell commercial advertising. Whether you and I like it doesn't even matter. It's what you can, the bang for your buck that you can get. And as far as I can tell, there is no let up with the NFL. And just to keep it real, more and more states are legalizing gambling.
Yes.
Which and it's already legal everywhere in Europe, anyways. So there are.
Really?
Oh yeah, you can gamble all over the place on anything in Europe, and so you are going to see not it dissipate, Rachel. The more teams, the better. The more weeks, the better. The more football, the better. It's just going to grow.
Okay.
The NFL made they made another interesting rule change too.
They did.
Yeah, they said that you can fair catch a kickoff anywhere and it gets returned to the 25.
Oh, we were talking about different ones, but yes, I did see that one too.
That one is college has already adopted it. Yep. So what this does is it stops the big high pop-up kick that if you landed at the 5, it's like, murder ball. You could just, cream whoever catches the ball. Is very, very dangerous.
It's very much for player safety.
It is, but we are really this close to just getting rid of kickoffs, which I think they should do. You score, you start with the ball, 4th and 14, 4th and 15 from your own 30, and it's a football play. And most teams would punt. But a punt is a much better football play than a kickoff. A kickoff is useless, and then you'd get rid of the onside kick. You just got to convert a football play on 4th and 15 if you choose to go for it.
Okay. I can get with this a little bit.
Yeah, listen, this has been tested. It's been experimented with. It's a much better play.
Yep.
Look what they're doing in the kickoff. So right now, the only choice you have on kickoffs with this new rule that just passed is to literally kick the ball through the end zone.
Okay.
That's it. And a team should always fair catch unless they are truly desperate. Like need to score. So if a team needs to score, why would another team allow you to score?
Yeah.
They would just kick it through the end zone. So the kickoffs, unbelievably, just became more boring.
Yeah.
They were boring enough. Now they're even more boring.
True.
So make it a real play. Look how much more interesting extra points are because they backed it up.
Yeah.
It's not thrilling, but you see instead of 99.9% of kicks made, it's like 83%.
Yeah.
So you have a margin of interest there with that play.
It's also interesting, and it very, very rarely happens, but I love the little bit of drama when there's, 2 quarterbacks and it's like, oh, is a Christian McCaffrey going to have to go in and be quarterback? But now you can suit up a 3rd quarterback.
You can, and that's a smart move too. You can only put them in case of injury. You can't be like, hey, Jimmy over there stunk. Let's try Timmy. Well, Timmy stinks. Let's get Bob. Hey, Bob.
Do you remember during the 49ers game and everyone was like, is Christian McCaffrey going to have to play quarterback?
Yeah, foolishness like that. That should never happen. The fact that Josh Johnson, who couldn't make the Broncos, who were terrible, ended up playing significant minutes, it was ridiculous.
And then Tom Brady, partial owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Are we surprised? I'm not, but also the Raiders.
You take your financial interest in an NFL team where you can get it. So good for Tom Brady. And it makes me wonder if he'll ever even get to that lucrative TV deal that he's supposed to start, not this year, but the year after.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll just look at that and be like, I know it's like $50 million a year, but I seriously don't need it. Here I am, like go Raiders. It probably indicates too where he wants to live more on a full-time basis, either in Vegas or the West Coast, probably getting out of Florida, that whole thing.
How much do you think we'll see Tom Brady down there at Raiders games?
Oh, I doubt we'll see him at all.
Okay.
I mean,
so then that makes me
I don't
think,
know. That's, you know what? Actually, I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. That's a damn good question. I don't know how seriously is he like Lewis Hamilton is to the Broncos?
Yeah.
Or is he like Condoleezza Rice, who actually
there
is
all the time?
Yeah, she's there all the time. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, everybody, we love reading your guys' comments. One person did get it right who called you. So I'll just leave it at that. I know. Good job on that one.
Smarty pants.
But we'll be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. for another episode of Coffee Break. An absolute joy having you all hang out with us. And the Nuggets are headed to the NBA Finals. We will see you all tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody.